Hello again, my name is Gaute Espeland. In my series Building HSTouch Graphics with Powerpoint and PaintNET, this is video number 3, just called Buttons. In the first video we were using PowerPoint to build a 3D tab dialog like this and placing some icons onto the tabs. In the second video I was demonstrating how this graphic was produced using PaintNET. PaintNET is a free drawing tool that you can download from getpaint.net. We also produced some black and white versions of the graphics and used it as status images to track a device from HomeSeer. I briefly explained how buttons were stored in pairs, named the name of the button -norm and -pressed for the normal and the pressed version of the button. In this video, we're going deeply into producing this kind of buttons using PowerPoint. It would be nice if we just could copy the button from PowerPoint and paste it straight into HSTouch Designer. This is not possible as HSTouch Designer can't receive any paste graphic directly. So what we have to do, we have to paste it into PaintNET and then save it as a file. Go back to PowerPoint, make an inset version of the same button and store this as the pressed version, and then we have a pair that we can use as a button in HSTouch Designer. When copying and pasting a button from PowerPoint, one particular problem arises. The pasted graphic contains a white border. Of course, we can take this into PaintNET, select the white border and delete it to make it transparent. The problem is that we are left with a white border like this, and you can clearly see it here around this button. This is due to the fact that PowerPoint is making edges smooth by putting a faded version of the pixel between the two colors. This looks okay as long as the colors are not touched, but if you remove this yellow color and make it transparent to place it on a blue background, this happens. The orange pixels are standing out quite clearly. To remove these pixels is not an option because doing that will leave us with a very jagged edge that doesn't look smooth and nice. So the trick to solve this is to make another object behind the button and make this object with a color that is the color that we will like the button to fade into. By selecting both the objects, we receive both the objects when we paste. It's important to make this object in one color without any fading, because then we can select it by using the magic wand in PaintNET, and by removing it we now are left with a very smooth blue edge. Looks like a part of the button. We have some options when it comes to where to place the graphic and where to place the text. We could place the graphic as part of the background and then put a transparent button on top of it. We could place the text into this transparent button, or we could place the graphic and the text into the button, or we could place the text as part of the graphic in the button. These are more easily explained in a table like this, and I made an executable version of this in HSTouch so you can see how it acts and reacts. So let's get out of PowerPoint. Here we have the designer and here we have the Windows client. All these buttons have the same functionality. By clicking, we turn on and off this bulb. The visual feedback they give, however, is different due to the difference in how they are constructed. The first button is part of the background and has only a invisible button, transparent button on top of it. We see it here in the designer. This is the invisible or the transparent button, and this is part of the background. So when we click this, there is no visual feedback on the button. The only thing we see is that the bulb is turning on and off. So normally we would avoid this kind of non-responsive button, because when you press it you get frustrated. Did I press it or did I not? But however, in some circumstances it can be okay if there are other visual means on the page that will tell that you have pressed the button. The alternative is to move the text from the background into the button. This gives us the possibility to change the color of the text when it's pressed. This is a lot better. One other option could be to remove the text when pressed to make the text transparent. This version is much like the other one when it comes to response. You press it and the text changed color. This has the advantage though that it can be moved. It's a separate button that can be moved around, and we don't have to re-export the whole background to change the position. However, this will make a perfect smooth edge, as we were just discussing, but this one has the problem that we need to make the edges fit to the background. The next one is a true button that has two versions of the graphic, and when you press it, it will shift to the second version and illustrate that the button is moving inwards. The problem is that the text is not moving. I would like the designer to have two more properties for buttons that could be the displacement on how the designer should move the text when pressing the button. That would be nice, because this actually looks a bit strange. The way to repair this is to move the text back on to the graphics and make a displacement in the graphics ourselves. So now when we press it, the text is also displaced. We have moved this text 2 pixels in this direction and 2 pixels in this direction, and it will elude that it's moving together with the graphics. If you are doing buttons with graphics on them, you actually don't have any choice, because there is no way of putting the third graphic onto a button. Of course, that would be nice in the next version of the designer to get another possibility to put a third file into it and a displacement on how to move that graphic when pressed. So these are the different versions. I'm now going to show you in detail how to produce this button and this one and this one. So let's get started. Let's close down the Windows client and take out a new screen that we can use to place the buttons on. Put this one as main and this one not main. Okay, and then we need PowerPoint. Just remove the standard graphics. So then we can start producing the buttons. Remember to remove the outline, that will just make trouble for us later. Make it 3D. Top bevel a little wider, a little higher, shiny, like this, and a gradient. Nice. Black is nice, but let's stick to our blue. This time let's make it go from dark blue to a lighter blue in the middle. So dark to lighter to dark. Then we need the background, as we were describing. It is back. And here comes one extra thing. We will now make a helpline, make it red, no fill, and as thin as possible. And we will put this line around the button as a reference line. We should zoom in maximal and put it as close as possible, but not touching the button. While doing this, make sure that you have turn off all these snappings, including the smart guides. They will also snap. So we put it closely up to the button. The reason for this is we need this as a reference when taking in the second version of the button. But for now, select everything, copy, paint.net, paste, and we can crop it immediately just to get it a little smaller, zoom it in, and then we're going to take this rectangle select tool and we're going to select right inside the red line, right inside it. And if we don't get it right the first time, I can have an error here now. We can use this tool, move selection, and move this selection line to make it perfectly inside the red. Once we've done that, we can crop away everything outside and we are left with the button. We can now use the magic wand and make sure that the tolerance is extremely low to take out these corners with the blue background color, and we're left with the button and the faded borders of the button. So we can save this. I made a new skin called Work Demo Tree and into the button folder, called it button 1 norm PNG. So now we can go back to PowerPoint and make the inset version of it. Select this one, make sure that we don't move anything, go to the 3D format, and instead of a bevel top, we now have a inset top like this. So now, once again, we select everything, copy it, go here, and now be careful when we paste, don't expand the canvas. Keep the canvas size because that's exactly the correct size. And now this red line will help us to align this perfectly like this. If we take it any direction too far, the red line will come back on like this. So now we can save this up. We have to take out the corners. Make them transparent. And now we can save this as B1 pressed. So now we can go into the designer, go to Work Demo Tree, and yeah, this is the button. As you see, it's called B1. And here it is. Press it, works perfectly. Let me do this again, but with a circular button. So zoom out, circle, take out the outline, format, gradient. Yeah, let's use the black one now. Little top, little higher, shiny. And now we will clearly see that when we are planning to put this black button on the blue background, we need to put the blue background here to generate the faded pixels correctly. Put this to back, reference, coarse adjustment, then maximum zoom, right outside the graphics, like this. Yes, and now select all three objects, back in here, paste it, zoom, select right inside the red line, need an adjustment here, and then crop, then remove the blue areas, and now we see that the faded pixels are left here, which is what we want to get the nice transition to our blue background. Save as, B2 norm, and then the same procedure, 3D, Inset, select everything without moving anything, paste it back here, do not expand the canvas, move the reference line, then delete corners and save as B2 pressed. Oops, I'll have to answer that one. In and out of buttons, here it is. See, very nice circle, and it's set in like it should. Then about the displacement of the text, we can go back here and we have the previous version already here. It's the Inset version. So we go to text, pick a white text over here, demo tree is done. This is not centered, so oops, sorry, I was doing this at the same layer. I can't do that because now I can't move the text. So we undo this, new layer, put the text here, and now we can select everything in this layer by going select all, and now we can use this tool to move everything in this layer without moving the layer beneath it. So we can center the text like this, but remember this is the Inset version, so this text must be displaced 2 pixels down and 2 pixels to the right. So we select everything again, and observe now these numbers down here we can use as a reference to take it, 2 down and 2 to the right. This is perfect. Now we save this as the pressed version. Gen B3 pressed, like this. And now it says it's 2 layers, I have to flatten it. Okay, flatten it, but we will undo that flattening immediately because we need it as 2 separate layers. So what we need now is to keep the text in place and then replace this background. So we select this one, open the B1 normal, this one, select all, copying it, go back here, make sure we are in the correct layer, paste it, and then go to this layer, select everything, observe the numbers and move the graphic 1, 2, 1, 2. This is back to center. Now we can save this as the B3 normal version and flatten, and then back to the designer, pulling it out, and it's working as it should. Last thing, graphics. Same procedure, but we do the graphic here in PowerPoint. On top of this button we can build a line or whatever. Let's take out the outline and make it white. When we put it here, or actually if we put it here, PowerPoint will now make sure that it's faded from white to blue on these edges, so it will be very nice when we paste it back. So we can take out this. I'll make it big enough. Let's make it big enough. Select both objects, copying it, take it back here, take it to this button and paste it in as a different layer. So let's put it on a different layer. Don't expand the canvas. Now we can move it into the correct position. It is still not transparent, so we'll have to take out the blue color like this, and now we can select it and move it around. Oops, sorry. Move it around with this tool to place it correctly onto the button. And if we zoom in, we'll see that it's correctly faded towards blue. Okay, this concludes the demo number 3. The next video would have some very special buttons and maybe also some sliders. So stay tuned.